Hello again, everybody. And we are again through the looking glass insofar as just talking about Sonic 2 characters and Sonic 2 lore and Sonic 2 redesigns. And now we actually come to fair play to Chris because something that's always a dubious start whenever we have to say, you know what, Chris might have actually done something pretty unique and different after all. But let me talk you through it. Because this article is about Count Graduon. Who is he, you may be asking? Well, let's see. Count Graduon was the prime mover behind the forces of evil in Sonichu. Count Graduon is an ancient evil spirit residing in the scepter of the evil witch Merrily Walsh. Despite being a supernatural being of great power who threatened the ancient Native Americans, just go with it. Graduon inexplicably holds the title of a middle-ranking nobleman in European society. Despite being envisioned by the overarching director of the campaign against Chris and the driving force of Chris and Solitude's enemies, the ensemble cast of Electric Hedgehog Pokemon apparently never take the time to learn anything about him. But leaving the reader in the dark about his motivations and importance. Graduon's name, pronounced, Graduon, we're just calling it Graduon, derives from Chris's feelings about his graduation from high school. Beyond his anger and embarrassment about not receiving special treatment at his class's commemoration ceremony, Christian likens his departure from high school to being exiled from comfortable surroundings and cherished friends. He also regards his efforts to adjust to life after school as a great adventure story. So it just so happens that perhaps it should come as no surprise to anybody involved that this man-child's greatest enemy is a metaphor for growing up. He is the embodiment of a reality of adulthood, of bad facial expressions, of slightly weak knees, slightly bad skin, and this staunch desire that you are not going to be living the same life as you had before. It's quite a fun idea, to be honest, but one I feel that Chris probably didn't think through, because people could turn around and just say, you know what, that's you, buddy. That's your worst enemy is the real world. Chris claims that Graduon, along with Red Note Natsu Natsurk, is inspired by evil wizards and evil twins from various TV shows, movies, animes, and book stories. His title of Count could possibly be a reference to the villain character of Count Weirdly from Psy-Like Fox and Comics for Kids, where Chris once had a drawing of Sonichu published at the youthful age of 29. I thought it was the trolls who did that. Maybe I'm wrong. In the comics. In the original canon, according to the ancient prophecy, Count Graduon is an ancient being of supreme evil sealed away by the leaders of the Cherokee and Wasabi clans. Again, just go with it. Interestingly enough, despite being trapped for thousands of years, Graduon was able to go to the moon and teach Sylvana, as well as give her a penis. I don't know. The prophecy foretold that upon its own discovery by Sonichu, Graduon would be released from his imprisonment to endanger mankind. Once Sonichu altered Christian to this fact, Chris accepted the powers of Chris-chan Sonichu in order to find and defeat Graduon. When Chris-chan, Wesley Sonichu, and Samara Rosechu discovered the ancient evil they were looking for, they found an enormous golem marauding through Quickville at the behest of Mary Lee Walsh. It was soon revealed that Walsh's scepter contained the evil spirit, who identified itself as Count Graduon, after the three prophesied electro creatures defeated the golem. Graduon has not yet established his motive for aligning with Mary Lee Walsh and targeting Christian, his city, and his friends. It may be inferred from the ancient prophecy, though, that Chris's superpowers are a critical threat to Graduon's evil. So therefore he seems to ally with her primarily because they see him as a common enemy, but for their own reasons between them. It is also unknown as to how and when he aligned himself with Mary Lee Walsh. In Sonichu issue 9, it is revealed that he cannot stand Mary Lee Walsh, now inexplicably called Slowee Orion. Due to her inability to either defeat Chris and his Electric Hedgehog Pokemon, nor free him or give him a new body, he was content to let her die when she nearly fell off a platform whilst fighting Sonichu. But after Sonichu saved her, he holds off and waits for a chance to utterly remove her from the picture. Chris has stated that at the end of the first season, he would fling Count Graduon to the moon, breaking the staff in which he was imprisoned. He then hinted, in other words revealed, that whilst he was there, Graduon would relocate and possess the deactivated Metal Sonichu, and prepare to return to Quickville as a new villain. His primary motive might have been to use the robotic copy as a replacement vessel for his broken staff, but it was speculated that Metal Sonichu would get to battle Sonichu, or Chris, depending on how you look at it. That is, until Chris smashed the staff in Sonichu issue 10 at the behest of Slowee Orion so she can punish him another day. Whatever this might mean, it looks like Graduon is out of the picture for the time being. This is not entirely unconnected to the rapid rise of Aspechu as the primary source of Chris's ire. Surprisingly, I thought they would have worked that in somehow, but no, it turns out they didn't. During the development of Sonichu issue 11, Chris claimed that Graduon will return. Metal Sonichu is not a secondary character. He will be making his return as a major villain after Book 11, possessed by the soul of Count Graduon. However, he then later said that this would also happen in 12 or later. You haven't got a clue, have you, Chris? On September 2015, after taking up Sonichu issue 11 again, Chris teased his fans with the information that Graduon had originally been a physically diminutive expert wizard and master of his witchcraft in the 14th century. Tormented and misunderstood, he took it out on the world by harassing women and generally becoming a maleficent sorcerer. He was executed and his soul was trapped until Slowee Orion released it. Chris hinted that Graduon might again assume corporeal form in the future. In a conversation on Etsy, upon being asked about Graduon's nationality, seeing as how he was trapped in the sphere by a pre-Columbian Cherokee Indian and yet appears very, very white, Chris said, "He was in medieval times, the times of castles, queens and kings, wizards, witches and sorcerers, reminiscent of around Camelot and the Knights of the Round Table, and all of that sort of rot." It's only a model. I had not really thought of nationality. No, of course, Chris, you didn't. But if I had to say, I would definitely put him around London or UK. So Chris doesn't even... No, okay. I was joking when I said Chris didn't think about nationality, but I think it's because he genuinely has not got a clue. Oh dear. Ugh. Count Graduon was said to have a story revolving around him in Sonichu issue 16, formerly Sonichu issue 14. Before Chris reordered the comics from what little has been released, Chris wrote a completely new origin for him. The new canon has his origin being on him being born into British nobility on the 17th of November 1433, taking part in the 100 Years' War, dying in battle at the hands of a French soldier in 1448. He was then reborn a second time on the 17th of November 1733, with his memories of his past life still present. He would later take part in the American Revolutionary War, fighting with the Redcoats. After the war, he lived with a family of Jewish wizards, where he learned magic from them in his last 10 years of his life. In his third life, he was reborn as Bernard Montgomery, taking part in both world wars and eventually dying on the 24th of March 1976. Count Graduon is currently in his fourth life. Remind me once again, who was that one character in World of Warcraft who kept coming back? He was like a necromancer and then he became... Kel'Thuzad, that's right. Kel'Thuzad is way cooler, by the way. I just thought to mention that. It's not. No, it's not even Kel'Thuzad. Actually, no, it's not Kel'Thuzad at all. Um, let me just take a. I'll take a look. I'm sure I'll be able to find out. Oh, look at that! It was Kel'Thuzad. I was almost. I didn't think Kill Jaden or Magferidon or anything like that, but no, it was Kel'Thuzad. Maybe we should take it for granted that Chris has not in any way involved himself in World of Warcraft lore. Yeah. Well, let's continue hoping. By the way, appearance. Count Graduon is shown mostly as an energy being contained inside a steel scepter, presumably with the immeasurable evil being trapped inside the purple finial on top of it. This might be inspired by The Adventures of the American Rabbit, in which the main villain, Voltor, is a buzzard on top of a staff. Issue number 9 shows his anthropomorphized form as either a grey alien with purple eyes, an albino gingerbread man, an Erestias Lord Voldemort, or a dark silhouette that Chris cannot be bothered to colour in. He also has angry looking purple eyes, and for whatever reason, he is seen sporting a cape. In Mod Nation races, however, he takes on a different and somewhat more intimidating appearance, still retaining the similar eyes and basic body shape, but is instead of a purple colour, with blue and white muscle tissue like strings on his body, darker purple-red eyes, and spiked wing-like growths protruding from the back of his head, making him somewhat resemble Taboo from the Super Smash Bros. Series. On the September 2015, Chris revealed an image of Graduon in human form, before his soul was ensphered, showing him with pointed boots, a goatee, and a facial scar in the shape of a pentagram. He explained on Facebook that Graduon wore a girder to hide his muffin top, and had a sharp chin, sharp nose, sharp eyelids. Yeah, that would make him absolutely fantastic in the field of battle, wouldn't it? Chris later created an amiibo and a Mii to support this design, and topped it off with several videos of Graduon commanding a squadron of Jerkops to assist him in fights against Merrily Walsh. But considering Chris gives Graduon's height as 4'7" and weight at about 194 pounds, in reality he will look more like an obese dwarf. Amazingly, Graduon might be one of Chris's more original ideas. Characters, even if he is mostly just living the personification of negative feelings towards his graduation. And you know what? I'll say it again just before we go. It is actually quite a good idea. Maybe an idea they could have had with Graduon is why is he coming after Christian? Well, it's because Christian, we're trying to prevent a prophecy. Because to be fair, trapped inside a sphere, if you've ever seen or even read Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, you will be remembered that in the Ministry of Magic, they have these little glowing white spheres, like crystal balls, if you will, and they're described as prophecies, things that can predict and interpret the future. It could be possible that Count Graduon is the personification of the future, a personification of a reality that he wishes to bring into fruition, and the only way he can do it is by conducting things through his own means. Maybe Graduon really is the personification of graduating from life. He is deaf. He has become deaf quite literally, and all deaf wants is to be realized in the eyes of Chris. That's my interpretation of it, and it probably would have made a slightly better idea for a story. But don't ask me to be used as a guest writer for Sonnet Shoe anytime soon, because quite frankly, no matter what I come up with, Chris is going to say, "Oh, I've discovered a new form of Graduon from CS6969 or whatever," and he'll make up some tantrums about, well, probably about World of Warcraft more than anything. But yeah, I quite like the idea in some ways, and I inexplicably kind of gave it a bit of an idea of myself. But you know what? At least it's better than most, which for Chris is not saying much. But you know what? At least there is an idea or two in this, so I can respect him at least for that. And with all that being said and done, I will see all of you guys again next time. Thank you.